My name is April. I'm 51 years old and I recently gave up everything to live in a camper. And this is how it's been going. Oh, and stay tuned till the end for a book review. So a couple of nights ago, I got into bed and checked my phone, and there was an alert, kind of like an Amber Alert, but this one was an alert of an upcoming recession. It had a bunch of information about what a recession is and how to protect yourself. So I thought for today's video, I would review my expenses living in the camper of the last month. And I think I probably moved into this camper just in the nick of time, because in times past, I would get at least 1 to 2 physical orders in my Etsy shop a day. And I do have digital items too, which regularly sell, but the physical items are where I make my money. And for June, July, and now into August, which is typically my slowest time of the year anyway, I'm only getting like 1 or 2 physical orders in a week. And that's not a lot of money to live on. So I'm really glad I'm not having to pay rent right now, because I'm not sure that I could actually do it. So before I start explaining my expenses in the camper for 1 month, for the month of July, let's take a look at what my expenses were before I moved into the camper. So let's first take a look at the expenses that I paid for my apartment. I had the middle unit of a triplex. It was about 690 square feet, and every month I paid the management company $1,071, and that included the rent and all of their other fees that they had on top of that. In addition, I paid utilities. Now, there wasn't any AC, no air conditioning, and in the winter, I did not turn on the gas heat. So I paid electric and gas for the hot water heater. And I had my bill averaged out every month, and I paid $114. If it went over at the end of the year, I would pay whatever was left over. But this was an average monthly payment of $114, and I paid that every month, year round. I also had fiber optic internet, which I paid $50 a month for. My car insurance was $88 a month. I had a phone bill of $48 a month. I averaged in food about $50 a week, or $200 a month. And gas for my car was about $80 a month. Now, I lived really close to a shopping center, and I walked as often as I could. So the total was an average of about $1,651 per month. And if I average that out over 30 days, it's about $55 per day. So now let's look at what my expenses are living in the camper. And this is on average now, because I've been in the camper for a while and my expenses have fluctuated, but the first 3 weeks were the most expensive. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm averaging out per month. I did move a bunch of my stuff from the apartment into a 5x10 storage unit, and I pay $101 per month for that, and it includes insurance on my belongings. For the camper and my vehicle, I pay $165 a month in insurance on those. I do have a phone plan now that includes unlimited data on Hotspot, and that's $78 a month. I'm still averaging about $200 a month for food, but I also have to buy water now, so water that I can drink. And initially I was going to the store and just buying jugs, like 1-gallon jugs of water. And I saw on YouTube actually that you can take those empty water jugs and refill them at Walmart, and they're 40 cents a gallon. So now I'm refilling my water jugs, and I go through about 10 in a 7-day period, and that's about $20 per month. I also am buying small propane canisters to make my coffee and cook dinner when I want to cook. If I buy them online, they're about $5 a piece.
and I go through one every 7 to 10 days, depending on how much I cook. And so that's $20 a month. I also have to go to the laundromat, and I do one load every 7 days, 7 to 10 days, and it's $6 per load to wash it and to dry it. So that's about $24 a month for laundry. And I'm averaging about $25 a week in gas, and that's because I'm staying in one place for 10 days at a time. I do have to take my camper to a dump station about every 10 days because I need to dump out both the black and gray water tanks. So I'm moving the vehicle every 7 to 10 days, and I'm not going very far because once I get to the BLM land, I'm pretty much staying there and then coming into town to get groceries and to do the dump station and do laundry all at one time, so that I'm only doing 2 trips every 7 to 10 days. So right now I'm averaging about $100 a month in gas. That's because I'm not moving very far. If I'm averaging it out, it's totaling about $708 a month. And if I average that for 30 days, that's about $24 a day. All right, now let's take a look at July, because July was a little different. The first 3 weeks that I lived in the camper, I stuck around Denver, and that meant that I had to move my vehicle I had to move it 2 to 3 times a day. So I was going through a little bit more gas, and I was closer to the stores, so I spent a little bit more money on food. But anyway, so in the month of July, I had some added expenses. The first one being that I had to charge my air conditioner in my vehicle because it stopped working. So that was $45. I just got one of those little canisters and charged it myself. Then my battery went out, so I had to get a new battery, which was $150. And then the real vehicle maintenance kicked in. I went in for an oil change and ended up spending $1,000 because I had to get new brakes and a bunch of other stuff, and it had to be done. I didn't want to end up on the side of the road somewhere, so I got that maintenance done for $1,000, and it took several hours to get that taken care of. So while it was in the shop, I went to Burger King and I got myself a sandwich and a soda, and that was $8. And that is the only time that I have gotten takeout food or any kind of prepared food since I've been living in the camper. So only one time I have gone out to eat, and I don't think you can even count that as going out to eat. But anyway, I also spent $11 at the thrift store on books so that I would have something to do in case my devices were not charged. And I also went to 2 different campsites. Now, the first campsite that I went to was close to Denver. It was supposed to be really hot that day, so I went and I got a campsite for 2 nights. It had electric. Unfortunately, my air conditioner in the trailer didn't work. That's a different story. But I paid for 2 nights there. It was the campsite, plus I had to pay $10 per day for my vehicle to be there. And then I drove down, I drove up into the mountains actually, and I got a campsite for 1 night, and it didn't have any electric or water or anything, but I also had to pay an extra $10 for my truck. So the total that I spent on 3 nights in a campsite was $135 in the month of July. And because I was moving my vehicle a lot in the month of July, I spent about $160 on gas. And that's even including the fact that right now, as I'm speaking to you, I am almost 4 hours away from Denver, so I drove quite a bit. Now, I was only driving like an hour to 2 hours at a time, and then staying a couple nights in BLM land, and then driving again. All right, so $160 in gas in the month of July. All right, so was it worth it? That's the big question here. Was it worth it? Am I saving money? Do I regret it? And I think that's the biggest question is, do I regret moving myself into a camper full time?
So in the end, do I regret it? No, I wouldn't say I regret it, because it has been an interesting experience. But overall, I'd say most of the time I'm pretty bored. I try to keep myself busy with sewing and crocheting and reading. I'm out of books right now, but there are games on my phone. I like this Block Blast game. It's kind of like Tetris, but not really. So that's been keeping me busy. And I also really hate driving with the camper, so I try to stay on BLM for 2 weeks at a time. But when it's time to move to a new location, it's super stressful. I'm really ready to be done with that. I'm also very anxious about where I'm going next. And anywhere I go, there's gonna be mountains, and I worry about putting too much stress on my vehicle and ending up broken down at some point. One thing that I have enjoyed is the beautiful scenery. You can see behind me Mount Blanca. I have also really enjoyed the peace and quiet. For the last 7 years, I've lived in an apartment, and for I think 5 of those years, I lived next to some extremely noisy neighbors. It was a lot of sensory overload, and so I'm really happy to hear birds chirping. It has taken a little getting used to not spending money because closest town to the campsite I'm at right now is 20 miles. To drive there and back is 2 gallons of gas plus a little, and right now gas prices are a little over $3 a gallon. So $7 to drive into town. What I'm doing is just making my Walmart pickup list and ordering it, and then driving in and picking up my Walmart order. So it's been a challenge, not just going to the store or going to get something to eat. It requires a lot of planning. Overall, I am really happy for the experience. I'm just glad that it's not permanent. I don't mind living in the camper, but I just wish that it was on a piece of my own land where I actually had productive work to do during the day. That didn't work out. I'm going to explain why in my next video. I have been in the San Luis Valley for the last 4 weeks. It's been beautiful. Warm days, cool nights, friendly people. I've really enjoyed it, but it's time to move on. So I have a job interview coming up. I know where I can get a good signal for my virtual interview, so I'm going to do that, and then afterwards I'll be heading up into the mountains, maybe find some mountain goats. We'll see. But I'm not anticipating being on the road for more than another month. I'm thinking 2 weeks to 3 weeks. I'm thinking 2 to 3 weeks before I start looking for an apartment. If all goes well, I'll be starting a new job. So then this whole journey will come to an end and a new journey will begin. All right, let's talk about the book that I read. It was a thick one, and it was the last book that I bought before I left Denver, so I have to get another one. Anyway, it is The Hour I First Believed, and it's written by Wally Lamb. And the reason that I bought this book was because it is written by Wally Lamb, who wrote my absolute favorite book of all time, which is She's Come Undone. It was an Oprah pick. I've read She's Come Undone about a dozen times. I really enjoy Wally Lamb's writing, mainly because it takes you on a torturous journey through the lives of his characters. And I also read this other book that he wrote called I Know This Much Is True. It was okay, not the best. I still like She's Come Undone, so I thought I'd give this one a try, and I have mixed reviews about it. It is the story of a couple who endured the Columbine tragedy, and it's mainly about the husband's life. Goes back deep into his family history. His wife ends up having some real severe mental illness because of her experience through the Columbine tragedy. I don't necessarily recommend this book. There were a lot of parts of it that I actually skipped over just because it just went on and on and on. I mean, it's thick. So it's okay. like I said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I would recommend you read his book, She's Come Undone. So there you have it, my book review. Since living in the camper,